Quasi here, and in this video I want to talk to you about how you can have a successful marriage and why most marriages actually fail. This is going to be a different style video because I don't really talk about relationships a lot in this channel, but I wanted to discuss this topic today because I've been getting a lot of questions about it. And what I want to share with you is the 3 biggest reasons why marriages and relationships actually fail, and the 4 keys to having a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, and how I navigated the pitfalls of my own marriage and my own relationship. So I want you to stick around to the very end of this video, because if you're someone who's in a relationship right now and you find that you sort of see the same patterns happening in your relationship and you just can't overcome them for some reason, it's a blind spot for you, then this video will be very, very helpful for you. So with that, let's get started. Now, most marriages actually fail because of one deep principle. And I've noticed this very, very common in all failed marriages, right? What happens is both partners get separated and they live, in 2 different places, like very, very far away, and becomes a long distance relationship. And then, they just break up. Or, even though they live together, they just grow apart. And that's the key principle here. Most marriages really fail because 2 people just grow apart instead of growing together. Now, what I mean by that is not just physical distance, even though that's a big catalyst to making people grow apart, but mostly just in their own personalities. Okay, people initially begin compatible, and then their interests change, and they start to find a little bit more about themselves, and they see that they weren't the same person as they were, because people are becoming someone different every single day, right? So the biggest reason why marriages fail is because 2 people just grow apart. That's the number 1 reason. Okay, and I've seen this common with a lot of my friends who have failed marriages and failed relationships, even though they've been together for 10, 20 years. I myself have been in a marriage for around 1.5 years now, but I've been in a relationship for longer than that. And this is my first ever relationship, and then we just got married because we just saw that it was right? But I've seen that my life dramatically changed after being married, after being in a relationship. I became a completely different person. At first it's difficult because you're adapting to a new sort of circumstance where it's no longer just you, right? Like before it was just you're responsible for yourself. Now you're responsible for another human being. And when you live together, you have to sacrifice a lot of different things and become one person. 2 people become one unit with a lot of compromises and a lot of giving ups. So that's why it can get very, very difficult for people. Okay? But that's just the initial stages of it. Throughout later stages of a relationship and a marriage, people just start to grow apart based on what they pursue, what their interests are, who they're hanging out with, what sort of influences they're exposed to. And if a couple don't grow together, they'll grow apart. That's one of the big reasons. The second reason, and this is something I had a lot of trouble with in my relationship, is a lack of empathy. And essentially, 2 people, when they get into a relationship, obviously they want their own things. But it's just difficult to align it into a mutual interest. What do I mean by that? Well, you want this relationship to go a certain way. The other person wants the relationship to be a certain other way. Even more than that, it's just that one partner wants another partner to be a certain way, and the other partner wants the other partner to be a certain way. So it becomes like, you're trying to do what you want rather than letting this relationship take its own course and its own flow. The biggest challenge I've had in my personal relationship was expectations. Okay, this is where empathy comes in. And with expectations, what I mean is that each partner has their own expectations. I want my wife to be a certain way, my wife wants me to be a certain way. And our expectations are largely set by what we're seeing around us, other relationships we're seeing around us. So think about it this way, right? If you're at a restaurant and you see a couple being all nice and like all lovey-dovey, but you're not that way, you're like, oh, why can't we be that way? So you're comparing your relationship to theirs. And that's the biggest pitfall a relationship can have. When you start to compare your own unique relationship with another person's relationship, right? Maybe they do have their unlovey-dovey moments, but you're just not able to see it. You're seeing them at a good time, right? So when you start to compare, you start to make this expectation worse. Instead of letting this relationship run its own course and allowing it to evolve into something greater, you're starting to force it and mold it into something it wasn't meant to be, right? This is also why most people fail to achieve their goals, because whenever something bad happens, they're like, oh shit, this shouldn't happen. This shouldn't have happened. I wanted it to go this way, but it went that way. And then you start to fight against the flow. When you fight against the flow, when you resist something, it just gets stronger and stronger. The same principle is applicable in relationships, and I had to learn that the hard way, right? So that's number 2, the lack of empathy. And number 3, this is a very, very important one most people don't realize, is when you get married, you take the marriage, or you're in a relationship, you take the relationship for granted. The problem with the term marriage is that it binds you together, right? Now your brain starts to think that there's no choice. There's no choice for you. You have to be in this. You chose to be in this. You've committed a lot. Both families got involved, and now you have to be in this. So it's really a forceful way of bringing two people together, right? So this can easily make you forget that at one point you chose to be with this person. And it's not a compulsive thing that you have to be with this person. You can leave whenever you want. And when this sort of realization is absent, that you actually are choosing your partner every single day, when you forget that, that's when you run into problems, because you start to, if people feel trapped, they're going to act out. If someone thinks that they're trapped in their job, if someone thinks that they're trapped in their business, they think that they're trapped in this current situation that they're at, they're going to start to act out, because human beings, they seek freedom. But the moment you reframe that into, I actually choose to be married every single day. Every single morning that you wake up, if you just remind yourself, this marriage and this person, to be with this person, I'm making a conscious choice to be with this person every single day. That's immensely powerful. That will make your relationship so much more fulfilling. And then if you start to actually make time out for your partner, that even just goes to show to you, to your subconscious, that, wait a second, I'm actively making time for my partner. That means I'm choosing to be with this person. That means this is something that's important to me, as opposed to, I have to be with this person and I have to do this. So this is also applicable for all other areas of your life. The moment you start to feel that your job is something that is keeping you trapped, you just remind yourself, wait a second, I'm actually choosing to be here. Even though it's an unconscious choice right now, I'm choosing to be here. And I can let go of it whenever I want. Okay? This is why people start to feel like victims, and it can never serve you when you're feeling like victims. If victimhood was the way to achieve your goals, I'd be the biggest victim of all, But yeah, so those are basically the 3 biggest problems that I've encountered in my personal marriage, and why most marriages even fail. And I want to share with you the 4 solutions now to helping you overcome that. Solution number 1 that immensely helped us out, me and my wife, was establishing principles of our relationship, like things and boundaries that we will have, expectations that we set, and we act in accordance with it. So one of our big principles was transparency, not hiding anything from anyone. A complete, like any marriage should have that, complete transparency, not trying to hide anything. And even with my clients, I do that in my business. So it starts to reflect out in every single area of my life, because if you've got something to hide, you become someone who's perceived as only someone who's doing something wrong has something to hide, right? So transparency is number 1. Number 2 is clear communication. Expressing ourselves if something isn't working out instead of keeping it pent up. That's something that's immensely helped our relationship as well. So establish principles for your relationship, okay, based on the kind of person you are, the kind of personality type you have. And again, this comes from self-awareness. If you aren't aware of yourself, if you don't have self-awareness, you should not be in a relationship, because you've got to get to a certain point within yourself when you're ready. And then a relationship only makes you take it to the next level. A marriage only helps you take it to that next level. Okay, once you're good within yourself, you're ready to give to another person and make it better, right? So that's solution number 1 that's really helped us. Number 2 is, in a relationship, only one person needs to change in order for the relationship to change. So think about all of your past relationships that you've had. Chances are, if you've been in a lot of failed marriages or failed relationships, there's been a consistent pattern. And this pattern has been unfolding not because somehow the wrong partner kept coming, but you've been attracting this wrong person. You kept choosing this wrong person based on what you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in the drama. Maybe you're interested in the lack of validation that you get from your partner and it makes you chase. You know, maybe you have some sort of deficit. Find the lack within yourself and solve that before you get into a relationship, before you jump into another one. Okay, don't be quick and hasty to jump into a relationship. Make sure it's a choice. You know, go out and date multiple people before you jump into a relationship. Yeah. So relationships are a perfect mirror, the way I like to call it. And why it's a mirror is because both people are reflecting each other. One person has their own intentions and their own internal world, the other person reflects it. So if you look at an argument, sometimes you'll say things that you never meant to say, but the other person brought it out in you. The heat of the moment brought it out in you, right? And it's the same with the other person as well. Both people are reacting to each other's frames. And then you look back at the argument once it's done and it's like, oh shit, why did I say that? I never really meant that. I didn't even mean it, you know? So only one person needs to change in order for this relationship to take a completely different turn, okay? That's number 2. Number 3, I mentioned this before, but it's making it a choice to be with this person every single day. Just reminding yourself, a simple reminder every single morning that you're choosing to be with this person can completely change the course of your relationship, okay? That way you don't feel trapped. That way it doesn't become an unconscious thing. But every moment that unfolds from here on out becomes this conscious choice. And finally, this is going to sound contradictory, but you should be taking time apart. And I've found that this has helped our relationship immensely. Taking time apart has allowed ourselves to get grounded within ourselves as individuals before coming in and bringing in our separate viewpoints. But, you know, don't take time apart for too long. You know, find the right amount of time. Take some time apart sometimes. Go for a walk, a couple days, you know, go back home to your parents or something. Take some time apart. Allow yourselves to get regrounded within your own individual identities before you bring it together into an awesome whole. Okay? And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. You know, this was a different style video. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of this. If you want me to make more videos like this. I don't usually talk about relationships and marriages, but this was something that was important for me as an entrepreneur. My business skyrocketed after I had a supportive partner, and when I was single, I couldn't really make anything work. I was really lost in life. So having a supportive partner was absolutely crucial for me. So let me know what you thought of this. If you want me to make more videos like this, just leave me a quick comment. All right, and I'll see you next time. Peace.